Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the Potter Podcast, and I have got a great question to answer for you guys today, and it's something that we're experiencing quite a bit as well, and that is, where do I start when I'm buying a home? Like, what's the best thing to do? What's the first thing I need to do? All that kind of stuff, and this can get a lot of answers. And so, again, welcome to the Potter Podcast. For those of you watching live, thanks for following, and hopefully this will be a good one for you to answer some of those questions. And so that is something that has been coming up a lot, and especially if you've been listening recently, I've been talking a lot about the buyers that are out in this market, right? And it seems like there is a high demand in every single price range, which there is. But one thing that I've started noticing is that there are a lot more buyers than I think are actually capable of buying a house. And let me explain that a little bit. And what I mean by that is I think that there is a lot of people that are out there in this market that think they can buy a house, or they've written things down on paper, and they've been told that they can buy a house, but there's things that they just don't realize that comes with a part of that process and buying a home. And so I want to break down some things that we've been running into, and also just some things to be aware of if this is you and you're thinking about it, and you're wondering what you should do in this current time and all that kind of stuff. So let me break that down. So where do I start this process? I think that's a really good question. I think you'll get a lot of different answers for it, but I will tell you what we recommend, and then we can kind of go from there step by step. So what I would say is, if you're someone that's thinking about purchasing a home, I think the very first step obviously is reach out to your realtor if you have one. If you don't, do some research on finding one of those people, and then get connected with them and someone that they work with. Especially what I mean by work with is a lender that they are working with locally. Okay? Now, why is working with someone locally important? Well, let me tell you some stories that have been taking place lately, and I'll just tell you a recent one that I had. So I had buyers that we got together on a contract back in January, and we were set to close this past week. And 2 days, actually like 5 days before closing, I got word from the underwriter that they were going to deny the loan. And I was like, how is this possible? Like, we've been under contract for 2 months, and now they're going to deny the loan. Come to find out, there was some discrepancies there with his pay and his things like that. Good morning, Kaylee Beebe. I see you and your nice little comment there. Thanks for following. And I guess what I was saying is, sorry, as I got sidetracked there, people commenting on the live. But he got pre-approved through a lender that was out of state, and it was a military lender. And nothing against any of those things. And so I wanted to be able to help him out. You know, I had done some transactions with them in the past and haven't had any issues. But what had taken place is he worked 2 part-time jobs. And one of those part-time jobs, he hadn't been there for more than 2 years. And so we had included that, or he had included that in his application. And then when the underwriter finally got around to it and did some checking in, they realized that he wasn't there for more than 2 years, and they couldn't include that income. And then that's what made them basically give the denial of the letter. And so here we were 5 days out from closing and trying to patch this up and trying to make it work. And then we come to find out that wasn't going to work. And so you had to walk away. So you can understand what might have been going on, and I won't get into all those details, but you can understand that a seller's probably not too happy when they get word at 5 days out from closing that, hey, we might not close on this house due to financing. And there were some issues that came up, even though we had a pre-approval letter. Okay, so that's important to know too, is just because you have a pre-approval letter from someone, or they've been pre-qualified, does not mean that they're like fully through that process, and that they've been verified. Now, I will say this, there are some lenders starting to do this, and this is why I would say get with a local lender, because some of these local lenders have started saying, okay, hey, here's what we're gonna do. When a buyer fills out an application, we're gonna send it right away to underwriting and have them verify all this stuff. And within a couple days, the underwriter will look over their financial situation and all those things that they need. And then they will get back to you and say, hey, this person's good to go, which I think is super helpful, especially knowing what took place with this last story that I just shared with you, is that it would be nice to know, right, that they are good throughout the whole entire process. And so that's just one example of something that could go wrong when you're thinking about or making a decision on who to use as a lender. So again, use someone that's experienced, use someone that is knowledgeable and that you can get a hold of like right away. A lot of times when you're working with some of these lenders that are outside of the network or outside of the local area that you're in, it sometimes causes a lot of problems. One, because they're not here and they're not local and they don't know sometimes what a lot of things are happening in your state, or even weather, right? Like weather sometimes, you know, like we'll have like a roof that needs to get replaced in the middle of winter. Well, that roofer can't get over there and replace a roof until the snow has been melted and that it's safe to get up on the roof. But if you have a lender that's in California, which we've had before, that lender's like, well, I don't understand why we can't get the roof done. And you're like, well, there's snow on the roof. And they're like, well, we can't escrow that. And just another issue where they don't understand the current conditions as far as weather here in Nebraska. It can be 70 degrees one day and still snow the next. Like, that's how crazy our weather is. So some of those things are important, especially when you are making those decisions. So where do I start? Let me, now that we've covered that, you know, get with your realtor, then get connected with a local lender. Okay, that's really important. And then once you go through that process, right, and once you not only get that pre-approval, but like I've been talking about, if you have them have their underwriter take a look at it, then you know basically that you are good to go throughout that current and full transaction. Okay, so those are some of the issues that we've been seeing, that we've been dealing with. You obviously get some other ones where, again, if you're working with, you know, I don't want to name names of certain lending companies or whatever, but you know, there's those ones that you see that are on commercials and online that are like, hey, get pre-approved in 30 minutes. It's that in 30 seconds. It's that easy, you know, like one click here and you just. And that's not really getting pre-approved. That's not really knowing, like, there's no way that somebody can approve you in like 30 seconds, right? Just by filling something out, okay? So there's a process there that needs to take place that you need to understand. And when somebody's not doing their due diligence in that process, you run into issues. And that's where circumstances happen that are not usually fun to be in. The last thing that I want, right, is to get my clients and my buyers out there really excited to go purchase a house, and we write up on something and then they come to find out that they can't get the house, whether that's due to financing or that's due to something else that came up. Like, that's no fun. It's not a fun situation to be in. It's not a part of my job that I like, although it is a part of my job, right? So it's what comes with the territory. But I just wanted to give you guys kind of a heads up on that and something to think about. And then once you get through that process, right, then you actually, I would say, get back with your realtor and discuss, okay, here's what we've been pre-approved for. Now, this is the other thing that I think is really important. Where is the area that you are most comfortable in making a monthly payment? Okay, so what I love about my local lender that I refer my clients to is he will basically, you know, walk them through that entire process, and then he'll say, hey, you're approved for this amount, but your buyers are most comfortable staying in this range because this is where they want to be for a monthly payment. And I love that, because then it allows me to go back to them when we meet up and say, okay, here's what's going on in the current market. This is your top end and where you want to be. Here's where we should probably start looking at homes. So it allows all of us to be on the same page and set that right expectation moving forward before we even get into writing up a contract or any of those things, right? Then it also allows me to explain to them what is actually happening in the market, so it can prepare them for the kind of offer that they're going to have to write, right? So again, you've been hearing me say this over and over as it relates to our current market and things happening, that, you know, if you're pre-approved, let's say for 300,000, right? But you want to stay in that 250 to 275 range, I'm probably going to be taking you to 225, 230 houses, because I understand what's happening currently in this market. And there's people that are offering with escalation clauses all the way up to like 260, 270 in those certain price ranges, and that puts us right where your max is. And so again, it comes down to not only using someone that's local, that can be a phone call away or a text away, that's going to get back to you right away from the lending side if you have any questions there, but also a realtor who understands what's happening in this market on a daily basis, okay? Again, you hear me reiterate this over and over, and there's probably a reason why I'm reiterating this over and over, and you hear me repeating it so many times, because it happens over and over, and we see it happening with clients that have horrible experiences because they go and they get with a realtor that just got their license, or like as a family friend that they're trying to help out and wanting to get their business started, or they're part-time and doing it on the side as like a side hustle. And then they get into these multiple offer situations, and they write up 7, 8, 9, 10 times, and they're never getting it. And they're like, I just don't know what we're doing wrong. Well, I can tell you what you're doing wrong. Either you have an agent that's not willing to tell you that you need to be more aggressive, or you have an agent that's not experienced or knowledgeable enough to understand what is currently happening in this market, because they're not in it on a daily basis. Okay, so it's very important to know and to have someone who is there that's in it every single day, who knows what kind of offers are being written, who knows what kind of contingencies are being waived, who knows what a seller is asking for, right? Who knows some secrets that may be working that are getting his buyers into houses and under contract, right? Or hers. So what I mean by all of this stuff is it's just smart to do your research when it comes to making a lot of these decisions, because you're buying one of the biggest assets that you ever will in your entire life. So as you're doing that, why wouldn't you do the research on, one, finding a good local lender and finding a good realtor? That's where you need to start, okay? And that's the importance of not just jumping on to a realtor.com or a Zillow.com or wherever it is and sit there and go try to find someone. Good morning, Nicole. Hope you're doing well. I love it. You guys are commenting. This is nice. Justine Campbell, I see you. You're watching. I love it. Thank you for watching. And what I was saying is, like, it's important to definitely do the research and then take your time, right? Because a lot of people are sitting there and they go find this house online, and then they go and want to write up an offer, or they go reach out to this realtor who's on one of those sites that may not be experienced or knowledgeable, but they just want to get into that house, right? Without going through the proper process. So again, I'm telling you these things because there is a good and perfect way to do this. If you're a buyer that's thinking about purchasing a house, take the right steps so that you don't regret making those decisions early on and running off your emotions rather than your logic in as far as making the right decision up front, so that you don't find yourself in a bind moving forward. And so again, another thing I want to say about a lot of those things that are online too is, because the market is happening so quickly and things are going under contract very quickly, sometimes within hours of getting listed, a lot of those websites aren't able to update right away as well. So you might see something that is looks available or looks like it's for sale, but then once you reach out to your realtor and they look it up, a lot of times I come back to my people and I'm like, hey, it's already under contract or it's pending. And they're like, what the heck? It just showed up. Like it's been here for like a day. I'm like, I know, that's how fast things are quickly going. But that again is why you want to find somebody that's in it on a daily basis. So with that being said, hopefully this has been helpful for you guys. Hopefully this at least, if it gives you, if you're someone that's in the current situation where you're thinking about buying, those are the things that I would say you need to do first and where you need to start. And then as we move forward in that process, then if you have an experienced agent, they're going to be able to hold your hand and walk you through the rest of the process and set the right expectation for you as you move forward. So again, that's key. Make sure that your agent is setting forth reality as far as what to expect as you're moving forward once you get pre-approved and you know what that number is and you know what you're heading into in that market. If they don't know what's happening in that market or they don't have strategies that they can use to help basically make your offer more aggressive, I would say it's time to get a new realtor. So again, just make sure that you're doing your due diligence in that and watching that. So with that being said, hope you guys are doing well. And I appreciate you guys watching. We will talk to you soon for the next one, and have a good weekend.